Okay, so what I'm going to show you today is a technique that I use fairly often actually. Sometimes you'll find an image that's almost exactly what you want, but maybe like say this is a sugar skull and you like everything about it except the eyes, and you want to take some different eyes and add them in, or maybe draw your own eyes. But how do you get the eyes separated here in Inkscape? So the first thing we want to do is we want to trace this and turn it into a path. So I'm going to go to Path, Trace Bitmap, and see how that looks. I'm going to increase the threshold a little bit here, and I'll say OK. Pull it off, and there is our traced image. I'm just going to delete by selecting, this is our original image. You see down here it says image. So I'm going to select it and press delete to get rid of it, and go back to our traced bitmap here. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how I like to take the eyes out if I was going to take the eyes out and put some different ones in. So I'm going to press the plus key to zoom in, and then I'm just going to take the Bezier tool, and I'm just going to roughly draw. If I'm going to turn my snap tools off by clicking over here because it's snapping, and press Ctrl Z to undo that last node I put in. And I'm just going around and outlining this eye. And then I'm going to join the two end points back together. And there we go. There's my path. It's surrounding the eye. It's not chopping off any other things. Okay, so one thing you can do is divide, but I'm not crazy about divide, and I'll show you why. So if I click on my path that I drew and the original, holding down the shift key to select them both, and I go to path division, see what it does is it actually breaks some of the paths apart also. And you can go back and you can fix this, but it's time consuming, and sometimes it's confusing because of all the little different parts. So I don't like to do it that way. I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo it. What I like to do instead is use a combination of path intersection and path difference. And so I'll show you what I do. First I click on my path that I drew, and I press Ctrl D to duplicate it. So now I have two copies of that, but they're right on top of each other. So Ctrl Z to undo the movement that I made. There's still two copies there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the skull. Ctrl D. Alright, so you can see there's two copies of the skull now. Ctrl Z to put it back. So now what I want to do is I'm going to click on one of my paths that I drew, and then I'm just going to press the home key, which brings that to the top. I can also go to Object, Raise to Top. I just want to make sure that that path I drew is on the top. And now I'm going to click on the skull while holding down the Shift key. So my path is selected and the skull is selected, and the path is on top of the skull. And then I'm just going to go to Path Intersection. Okay, it doesn't look like it did anything, except you can see that my bounding box is now right around the eye instead of around the path. And if I drag it off to the side, you can see it isolated the eye. If you were just going to take this eye and put it into another drawing, then you'd be done now. But say you want to take that eye out and put it somewhere else. So now what you can do is now select your path again, and then just go ahead and hit the home key to make sure it's on the top, or Object, Move to Top. And then again select the sugar skull, and now we're going to do Path Difference. And what that does is you can see if I move that out of the way now the eye is gone. So you can use some combination of those two usually to isolate different parts of a traced bitmap that you've done. And you can combine all sorts of things in new and interesting ways. And that's a lot easier than trying to delete nodes or move things around. It's easier than the division command because it doesn't break it apart also. So hopefully you can use this technique. I use it all the time in my drawings that I do. So thanks for watching.